Alright, so to remove this door card, you're going to need to access 3 10mm bolts. One is here, here and here. Okay, you're going to do that by accessing in here. You're going to need a little pry tool like this. What you're going to do is grab onto this handle, pull towards you to expose this line. When you do that, you can then grab your little pry tool, put it in the wedge there and pry up, which should release that bottom section. Once that bottom section's out, all you have to do is just wiggle and it comes undone. What you want to avoid is obviously breaking. There's these little clips inside here. They do break, quite easy to break unfortunately. But doesn't matter if it does break, there's still plenty in there that you can just clip back on and it'll be sturdy. Right, so next what you want to do is you've got to remove this little plastic cover in here. I like to use a little set of pliers, that way I can grab the cover and just pull it out swiftly. So you pull the handle back, get your pliers into this lower section here, and then you can pull that cover off. Alright? So that should expose the 3 10mm bolts that you need there to remove. So you have 3 bolts. I like to put them in a safe place so the footwell of the car is fine. Right, once you've removed those 3 bolts, what you're going to do is come to the front of the door card here. You'll notice a little gap right in the front section where that hinge sort of mechanism is. You'll be able to grab your fingers and give a swift pull outwards to release the clips and follow it through all the way around. I like to disconnect the front here. Please be mindful that you've got a grommet on the back door, which I'll show you how to safely remove now. Now, to safely remove these, there's one of 2 ways. You can pull it out with the door card. What you want to be mindful of is you have your hand over it while you pull the door card out, otherwise this will go flying somewhere and it will bounce forever, so good luck finding it. The other way is you can get a specific pry tool with 2 forks on the end and then you can pry it out that way. But what I find is prying it out that way, majority of the time they snap and break. So as you're pulling the door card off, get your hand under here and you can remove it safely. These do have a habit of breaking all the time, so I'll give a link of where you can buy these. I think they're only about $11 each. I have to buy them all the time because it's just a Nissan part. So now we'll move on to removing this trim. So, got it undone. What you're going to see is a bunch of random wires and clips in here. Trust me, they're not random, they're used for something. So you've got your door handle and locking mechanism connector here. You've got your window switches and locks there. This one's a little LED light in here. This triangle piece up here can be removed. So what you're going to do there, I put my knee on the bottom half of this door card, just situate it there. You're going to pull straight out that way to separate it. You don't want to disconnect this because this will start playing with your sensors on the inside of the car if you forget to put it back on. So once you've removed it, there's these 2 little clips up here that you can just place it back and leave it there. So you want to go ahead and disconnect these cables here. There's a push clip for the LED light that's in there. Now this one's rather tricky, so you're going to have to disconnect the clip that holds this section on. So what I like to do is grab the front and pull back that way. And what that does is separates that clip. And then just a push clip on here, you can see that, and that comes like that. You'll also have your door light here, so which is just another push clip that you can remove. And there you go, one door car removed. So once you've got that one door car removed, the process is the same on the back and the driver's side doors. Once all the door cards have been removed, I'll just show you on this one. There are 5 screws that hold everything together. So 5 screws on each triangle piece, so which are located these little silver bad boys here. So once you disconnect one, I believe where I'm trying to reverse the camera, so 2, 3, 4 and 5. That should loosen this triangle piece here. Once you've gotten those off, then what you can do is there's 3 clips that hold it on together. So there's a clip hidden right in there. So there's 3 on the front doors and then just 1 on the rear ones. These can be a little bit tricky to get undone. Sometimes you might break them because they're not really meant to be bent. But if you do happen to break them, don't worry, because there's still 5 screws holding everything together. It will not affect the finished product. So once you've disconnected all the doors, what we're going to do is just come into the interior of the vehicle here. Just remove anything that we've got inside these cup holders. We're going to lift this back section up and remove this center console. So what you're going to do is just grab this little shifter boot down, just give it a nice little pull down, and that should expose a little clip. What you want to do is just grab the prongs on the front of this clip and just pull it back until it comes out. Now be careful of these because it can spring and fling off into the unknown. I'm not sure where to get a replacement part for this one. So after that one's been removed, you can easily just slide off the shifter. And what I like to do is just put this bad boy back, because once you put it back towards the end of the installation, all you have to do is click it back on and everything's good to go. So to pull this out and disconnect everything, what you're going to find is there's a set of clips all around the side here. Easiest way to get them out is to open this cup holder section and pull up. Nice firm tug, and that's released everything there. So there are 3 clips joining all your module together. So 1 clip there, 1 for the cigarette lighter, and another one for your gear selector lights. So what you want to go ahead and do is just disconnect all these. They're little push clips, but be very careful you don't snap them. And that's that. So what you want to do is on a 45-degree angle, you're going to lift up over the gear stick and out. And that's that center console removed. What you might want to note is there's 2 white retaining clips. They don't really have to go back on at the end of the installation. I never put these back on, just due to the fact that when you're installing UHF radios and other things and you might need to get it off again, it runs the risk of damaging the film in the future. So I like to leave these off and just connect the 3 plugs back in. That way you can have easier access into that section. Right, once this part has been removed, you can set it to the side. For later, we need to disassemble this. Now, to disconnect everything here, we're going to have to remove these two side leather pieces. The best way to do that is jumping on one side and then jumping on the other, or if you're sort of flexible, you can get to both sides and sitting down in one spot. So you're going to find a clip all the way under here, which you're just going to want to pull out that way. You'll hear that click. Grab the bottom section under here and pull towards you. And then with this hand, you're just going to want to pry up and pull that out like so. Now this is a very difficult one, so what you're going to have to do is, just to get the space to clear it out, make sure both seats are all the way back. You're going to have to sort of pull out a little bit until you feel that tension, then bring the bottom section out onto like a 45, and then go down, and that should release that there. So I'll come back around and show you what I mean. So it's this doohickey here that you're going to have to pull out, which will disengage about up to there, and then it gets caught on this section. And this section is where you need to pull back on that 45 to disengage it from the car. And the same process goes for the other side. So once these 4 screws are out, what you're going to do is grab onto both of these sides and pull back towards you. Now give it a fair tug, but obviously be careful that you've still got the gear shifter there. You might want to put a microfiber towel just in case you go a bit too far and you run the risk of hitting that. Luckily I hit it, but I didn't damage the actual fascia. And what's going to happen here, you've got a bunch of connectors there. So the CD player module actually is mounted to the vehicle, so that's perfectly fine. What you're going to want to do is just disconnect these two. So they're 2 little push clips. Go ahead and pull that out. And that releases that module. So we're going to set this aside because we still need to disassemble all this, but don't be scared, it's pretty easy. It's only a bunch of, we don't need to disassemble everything, it's just removing this plate from the actual wood grain. That way we can tuck the DIY kit around these corners nice and flush, so you get a cleaner installation. Now we're going to go ahead and disconnect this. So essentially what you want to do is, there's 2 clips on either side, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and 1 in the middle here. You want to grab your hand on top where the gap is, slide your hand under here until you can feel the bottom of the actual wood grain piece. Now I've removed this already, but what you want to essentially do is click it back in, pull it out towards you and just wiggle it out. So once you've done that, it should just pop free. Then you'll go behind there. If you've got any aftermarket accessories, they'll need to be disconnected, but essentially there's 2 clips that you can access back here, which are push clips, which should release the socket here and the USB connector. So once you've got everything wrapped, putting this item back in, what you want to do is obviously connect everything right back up with all the clips and doohickeys. Slide it the bottom in first, clip the bottom clips in, and then go ahead and clip the top ones. If you do it the opposite way around, the bottom clips won't go in on a slight angle and you won't ever get it to sit flush. So bottom in first, and then the top should click right in. Piecing this top section back together once it's wrapped, and you've got everything back where it should be, it's just popping in those 2 connectors, once they're in, just line everything up, with it should clip into this top section here. Sorry, I'll just fix this camera angle. So once you've clicked those two back in, what you want to do is line the top section up here, then push this until you hear a click, and push both sides until you hear a click, and that should be perfectly fine. So because that CD module is fixed to the vehicle, there's no need to adjust or make sure this CD slot is lined up. It should fit perfectly fine. I like to open the cigarette lighter cap and just make sure everything's nice and flush under there before going ahead and putting the 4 screws back on. Once those 4 screws are back on, then you can put those side pillar pieces back in. Make sure they go in first before your cup holder section goes back on.